Good morning, class. Today is Thursday, May 21st. Let's begin with our language arts. Today, our song is Whistle Down the Wind from the musical Whistle Down the Wind. So we know that this is a pretty important song because it is the title of this particular musical. Usually I have you listen to this 3 times. Today, I only want you to listen to it twice. The first time, I want you to just identify words you don't know. If you want to be a super achiever, I want you to also in that time identify really good words that are really good word choice in a different color, underline, whatever. And then the second time you listen through, I really want you to focus on what you're visualizing in our head. Remember, visualization means that we can see a picture of what's happening in our mind. This is a strategy I use all the time when I'm reading, even nonfiction. I'm visualizing in my head what's happening on the page, and I'm drawing myself little doodles. They don't have to be perfect masterpieces. I know Black Cloud is phenomenal at drawing. I don't have his skill. So make sure that you're just drawing the basics to convey the image that's in your mind across so that you can remember what happened later. When you're finished listening to this a second time, now we're going to attack the questions. So be sure you're not on the questions until you've listened to the lyrics, read them through twice, using your Ultimate Language notebook. So question number 1 says, reread the phrase from the song above. Drawn out all the rain, light a patch of darkness. Drawn out all the rain, light a patch of darkness, treacherous and scary. The word treacherous in this context most accurately means A, delightful, B, dangerous, C, mystical, or D, full of light. I'm going to give the answer in 3, 2, 1. It is B, dangerous. So how I know this one is I can use my context clues strategies. So remember when we talked about context clues, the word and is kind of like a plus sign. It means that whatever the next word is should probably be pretty similar. And so if I plug this in, which one means something similar to scary? It's not delightful and scary. That would be weird. It's not mystical and scary. And it's not full of light and scary. The only one that makes sense, the only one that's kind of synonymous with scary is dangerous. All right. Number 2, the words clear and strong are examples of A, adverbs, B, adjectives, C, conjunctions, or D, prepositions. I'm going to give the answer in 3, 2, 1. The answer is B, adjectives. Remember, if it's an adverb, it usually ends in ly. Remember, lolly, 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 get your adverbs here. Adjectives, if you can say the phrase I am and put the word in and it makes sense, that means it's an adjective. So I am clear. I mean, as much as we wouldn't go around saying I am clear, that grammatically makes sense. I am strong, that makes sense. So that's a really good case for it being an adjective. Conjunctions, there's only and, but, or, for, nor, so, yet. Again, and, but, or, for, nor, so, yet. Clear and strong are not in that list. And then if I think about prepositions, remember my cue for a preposition is, where's the rubber duck? Clear and strong don't answer that question where the rubber duck is, so they cannot be prepositions. All right, the main idea of the song is, and I want you for the rest of your life, whenever you see something that's main idea, think of me and go, what is the story mostly about? That's what that question is asking me. What is the story mostly about? A, something dangerous is about to happen, so the characters should be alert. B, the characters are comforting each other and are always going to be there for one another no matter what they encounter. C, the setting of the story is being set and the details of the wind and climate are being established. D, make sure you say proper goodbyes before venturing on a journey. I'm going to give the answer in 3, 2, 1. The answer is B. And how I know this is if I go back into the text and look for text evidence. You know, there's so many phrases that are like, I'll be there to hold you. I'll be there to start the tears and all the weeping. So they're there for each other. And there's so much text evidence for that. Number 4, which of the following is not an example of figurative language? Whistle down the wind, I have always been right here. Howl at the stars, light a patch of darkness, treacherous and scary. I'm going to give an example. I'm going to give the answer in 3, 2, 1. It is B. I have always been right there. Now, some of my students in the past have argued that this is hyperbole because there's no way you could have always been right there. But it's more literal than all of the other examples. So if I look back at this and I see whistle down the wind, I don't even know what that means. Is that whistling down the wind? I can't whistle. Howl at the stars. Do we think that that literally means go outside and go, oh, at the stars? Light a patch of darkness. Does the author mean literally taking a match and going, darkness, go away? That's not what's happening here. So the most literal languages, I've always been right there. Number 5, which of the following could be used to best replace the phrase, so try and stand the tide? A, try to be strong. B, try to be flexible. C, try to be understanding. Or D, try to say goodbye. So I'm going to give the answer, in 3, 2, 1. It is A, try to be strong. And for this one, I think the best way to do this is to go back to the text and use our plug and chug strategy. So try to be strong, try to be flexible, try to be understanding, try to say goodbye. Plug those back into the sentence and see if it makes sense. The one that makes most sense and fits with the overall tone of the rest of the story is try to be strong. Okay, now let's go over the answers for our Mudshark chapters 10 to 13, or the end of Mudshark. On page 64, we finally figure out, how does the parrot gather information? The parrot is like Mudshark. It listens to everything by jiggling the transom above the library door. It exits its cage. Number 6, what is Mudshark's plan to distract the bird and return the erasers? Do you think he will work? He ties the bird cage shut so the bird cannot get out. They're going to trick the parrot into thinking that it dislikes answering questions. And I forgot to put why, but basically they're utilizing this really strong smelling concoction that one of the characters has made. And they're trying to create this negative association with answering questions. Did the story end as you would have expected? So your answers will be totally different. I know for me, one of the things that I like about Gary Paulsen is that, especially in his more humorous novels like this one, you never know what's going to happen next. He's not afraid to take a totally ridiculous ending or a totally ridiculous next step. Did you enjoy the novel? What did you like? What did you not like? Be as specific as possible in your answer. So yeah, I definitely meet students who love this book, definitely meet students who don't care for this book. I think my favorite parts of the novel are that it is so clear. Like there's humor every chapter, especially with the PA announcements. I think that's everybody's favorite part, is the PA announcements at the beginning of the chapter. I also really like the part about Mr. Cuddles and the cat. I think that is pretty clever. I think the parts that I don't really like are the part with the armadillo at the beginning of the story, just because that seems implausible to me that someone as smart as the librarian would take home an armadillo and not realize it was dead, as well as the reason that the custodian is stealing all the erasers. So I think with this book, you get out of it what is positive and you learn from what maybe you don't like so much. For vocabulary, observant is A, notices things. Apparatus is B, structure. Aversion is A, avoidance. Noxious is C, nauseating. And inadvertently means B, accidentally. Oh my God, I'm so excited. We're starting a new book today called Lightland. This is one of my all-time favorite YA books. I've read it with a bunch of classes before. It's really an unheard of book. So the likelihood that you've even heard of this book before is pretty low. It's just amazing. It's fantasy, which brings us back to kind of a more Harry Potter range that we were in the beginning of the year. So the first things I want you to do for today for our read aloud is the pre-reading. So the book title is Lightland, and you can see this in the read aloud video. I hold it up and I give you a chance to look at it. So feel free to pause this, go look at that. The author is H.L. McCutcheon. The genre is fantasy. Describe the cover and what kind of story you predict this to be. Read the inside flap to make more predictions. I read the back cover to help you make more predictions. And then this is a story about fantasy and memories. So I want you to write, what are memories and why are they important? The character map is to help you as you read. So as you read this book, I'm not going to reference this over and over again, but I want you to go back to this page in your Ultimate Language Notebook almost every time you go to the read aloud. And I want you to try to add adjectives to each of these characters. The two main characters are Lottie Cook and Lewis Weaver, and those are obviously the ones that you're going to be introduced to first and that have kind of the most information about them. Today we're going to be reading chapter 1, the story box, just chapter 1. Look at the quotes from the book and try to find the best synonym for each underlined word. So this first part is a vocabulary practice, very similar to what we're doing in Mudshark, except this time you don't have options. I do expect you to write in a complete sentence. So conviction means blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to school, Lottie repeated to the locked door, ever. Oh, yes, you are, her father barked definitively. My mother says school is wonderful, Lewis said without conviction. Number 2, Mrs. Weaver was an unpleasant woman who wore a perpetual pucker, as though she were sucking lemons dry, Lottie said. Her brow was always furrowed. Her fists were always clenched. Number 3, Mr. Cook was not a timid man, would ask timidly, "Had a nice summer?" "That's an omen, Louis," Lottie said with a grin, biting into her cake. 11 is going to be a very interesting year. Louis looked doubtful. Number 5, they both knew that it was too good to be true. They'd hire someone to teach 6th grade all right. At this late date, they might scrounge up someone truly horrible. It was such a vague assignment that pretty much anything she wrote would be good enough. So then for our questions for this one, you need to draw what you see in the settings so far in this book. I apologize for my alarm. And then what did Louis and Lottie do to skip kindergarten? What kind of characters are they? Why does Lottie wear PJs to school every day? And describe their new teacher. And then the final thing that you're going to do for today is actually kind of think about their assignment. What would be in your Everything I Know autobiographical story? And that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you on Monday.